On this episode of the Launch Your Coaching Ministry podcast, if you've been feeling stuck, uncertain, or even a little overwhelmed trying to figure out what God is calling you to do, then this episode is definitely for you. So today I'm going to talk about identifying your God-given purpose and align your coaching ministry with your faith. Because let's be honest, starting a business that honors God isn't just about strategy. It's also about surrendering to His plan and trusting Him to guide you. So if you are ready to stop second guessing yourself and start moving in alignment with your purpose, then let's get into it. Welcome to Launch Your Coaching Ministry, the podcast for Christian women over 40 who are ready to stop waiting, trust God's timing, and finally turn your calling into a coaching ministry. I'm your host, Monique Addison-Stinson, and I'm here to help you step boldly into your purpose and build the coaching ministry God has placed on your heart. No more sitting on the sidelines, no more praying for the right moment. It's time to take action, embrace your calling, and launch with faith. So, if you're ready to finally stop hiding behind prayer and step into what God has called you to do, then keep listening. All right, sis, so let's talk about something so foundational on this journey. What does it actually mean to be called? And we hear the word calling tossed around a lot, right? Especially in faith-based spaces. But let me break it down so it's not just a concept. It's actually something you can see and feel in your own life. So let me ask you this. Have you ever felt this nudge or this push or this heavy calling? You know, that persistent, can't shake it feeling that's deep down in your spirit that says there's something more for you. That's not random. That's not just a passing thought. Sis, that's God whispering to your heart, calling you to step into the purpose He's already designed you for. But here's the thing. Being called isn't just about finding a job, starting a ministry, or checking off some good Christian boxes. It's about aligning your life and, yes, your business with the specific plan God has for you. And that calling, well, it's not always flashy. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's steady, and it's a little scary, but it's all significant. So let's look at scripture for a minute. In the Bible, we see so many examples of people being called by God. Moses was called to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, even though he didn't feel qualified. And then we have Esther, who was called to save her people, even though it required incredible courage. And let's not forget old Paul, right? He was persecuting Christians, but then he became one of the greatest apostles of all time. Now, what do all these stories have in common? Their calling wasn't about them. It wasn't about their comfort, their plans, or even their skills. It was about God's purpose and their willingness to say yes. Now, here's the key. A calling isn't about being qualified. It's about being obedient. And if God has put something in your heart, trust that He's already equipped you to carry it out. Now, it might not look that way, or it might not look the way you expect it, okay? And it might stretch you in ways you didn't even think possible. But sis, that's where the magic is, actually. I was going to say something else, but that's actually where the magic is. Now, you might be wondering, okay, Monique, this sounds great, but how do I know if I'm being called? Well, let me share a few signs that you may notice. So it might feel bigger than you, because a God-given calling will often feel overwhelming because it's designed to require faith. If the vision you have doesn't scare you a little, quite frankly, or a lot, it might not be from Him. Maybe. I don't know. Just you got to pray about it. The second thing is that it won't leave you alone. A calling has a way of sticking around. You can try to ignore it, you can distract yourself, or even run from it, but it keeps coming back. You find yourself thinking about it when you're driving, when you're praying. I mean, it just pops up all of the time, and you may even daydream about it. It just doesn't go away and it won't leave you alone. That's why I always say this nudging, because that's exactly what it is. It's nudging, this constant nudging. The third thing is that it serves others. Your calling isn't just for you, it's meant to bless others. Now, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through ministry, or simply offering a listening ear, a God given calling will always point back to loving and serving others. And then the fourth thing is that it aligns with God's word. Now, this is important because a true calling will never contradict what God has already said in his word. So if your vision aligns with his principles, chances are you are on the right track. Now, when I first felt called to start my coaching business, I was terrified. I kept asking God, are you sure? Are you sure this is for me? Are you sure you want me to do this? I don't feel ready to do this. I don't know where to start. Those were a lot of the things I was thinking about. But the feeling wouldn't go away. It kept coming up in prayer and conversations and even in random moments. I finally realized this isn't just a good idea, it's a God idea. And if I didn't act on it, I'd always wonder what if. Or I might see someone else doing what it is I should have started doing. Sis, if you're feeling that nudge, I want you to lean into it. God doesn't call the perfect, he calls the willing. And the fact that you're here right now listening to this podcast tells me that you're ready to move in the right direction. You might not have all the answers. You might not have all the answers right away, and that's okay. You don't need to have the full picture to take the first step. God will reveal the next step as you walk in obedience. All right, sis, I want to shift gears a little and talk about how you know you're walking in alignment with your calling. Because once you start moving, it's natural to wonder, am I on the right track? Is this really what God is calling me to do? So let's break down some clear signs that you're aligned with God-given purpose. And these aren't just random feelings either. They're ways God confirms that you're moving in the right direction. One of the first ways you'll know that you're aligned with your calling is that it brings you joy. And I'm not talking about fleeting happiness or those moments of excitement when things are going well. I'm talking about a deep, lasting joy that comes from knowing you're doing what God created you to do. And even when it's hard, even when you're tired, there's this sense of fulfillment because you know your work matters. You know it's making a difference. Think about it like this. If you've ever had a conversation with someone where you felt like your words were truly helping them and you walked away feeling energized instead of drained, that's a glimpse of the joy your calling brings, right? It's that this is what I was made for feeling. Okay. Next, your calling isn't just for you, right? It's meant to serve others, right? So when you're aligned with your purpose, the work you're doing has this ripple effect of sorts. So it inspires, it uplifts, it transforms the lives of people you're serving. Since your calling is a blessing and the impact that you have doesn't have to be big and flashy. Maybe it's the one woman you coach who gains the confidence to pursue her dreams, or the small group you lead that grows in their faith because of your guidance. Those moments of impact are evident that you're aligned with God's plan. And then thirdly, and here's a big one, Your calling will always point back to God. So when you're aligned with your purpose, the way you serve, the way you lead, and the way that you carry yourself all reflect Him. People will see His love, grace, and truth through the work that you do. They'll just see it all on you. I mean, I would get that all the time. I had people look at me. I had a doctor's appointment the other day, and the doctor said, I have to tell you this when she came into the room. She said, every time you come in here, you just spread light. And I just had to tell you that. So even outside of doing the work for God, just your presence will show His presence in you. And people will see that. People know real, right? I remember the first time someone told me, Monique, what you said in our session felt like God speaking directly to me. And that moment wasn't about me. It was about how God was working through me. And that's how I knew. That's how I knew that I was aligned with my calling. And that feeling brings you to tears. I'm actually just thinking about it will bring me to tears right now. To hear somebody say that, it's the best feeling in the world to know that you're on the right track and you're actually allowing yourself to be the vessel that you're supposed to be. And when your work glorifies God and draws people closer to Him, you can trust that you are definitely on the right path. And then this is the fourth thing. Being aligned with your calling doesn't mean it's always easy. Trust me, it is. Listen, in fact, your calling will often it'll require you to actually step out in faith, take risk, and trust God in ways that you never have before. I have done things I never thought I would do. I'm an introvert. I like quietness. I don't like being out front. I like to be in the background. And so God has had me out front, speaking to people, running workshops, planning workshops, all the things that I don't like to do, but it's not about me. Okay? But here's the thing. That stretch isn't a sign you're off track. It's actually a sign that you're growing. And I have grown so much. I have grown so much, and I'm grateful for it. So if you're feeling stretched right now, that's okay. God is using this season to prepare you for even greater things. So keep going, sis. You're exactly where you need to be. So if you're wondering whether you're aligned with your calling, start looking for these signs. Is it bringing you joy? Is it blessing others? Is it glorifying God? And is it stretching you in faith? And if you can say yes to even one of those, then sis, you are definitely on the right track. Remember, alignment isn't about perfection, it's about intention. It's about showing up, trusting God, and letting Him work through you. Now, I know that we've talked about what it means to be called and the signs that you're aligned with your purpose. So let's dig into the practical side. How do you actually identify your calling? How do you get that clarity to know what God is asking you to do? So here's the truth. Sometimes identifying your calling feels overwhelming because we overcomplicate it. We think it has to be some big flashing neon sign when really God often reveals our calling in simple, quiet ways. So I want to walk you through 3 practical steps to help you get clear and start moving in the right direction. So let's start with what's already inside you. So God doesn't call us to do something random. He calls us to use the gifts and skills and passions He's already placed in our hearts. So take a moment to think about the things you're naturally good at. What comes easily to you that might feel hard for someone else? Maybe it's listening, maybe it's encouraging others, maybe it's teaching or even organizing. Those gifts aren't random, they're clues. Okay? Now, let's talk about your passions. What lights you up? What topics could you talk about for hours without getting tired? A lot of times, our passions actually align with the purpose God has for us. So I want you to grab a notebook or a journal, and after this episode, I want you to make 2 lists. I want you to write down all the things you're good at or been complimented on by others, and those are actually your gifts. And then on the second list, I want you to write down the things that you love doing, the topics that excite you, and the problems you feel that you can solve. And those are your passions. Listen, this is not when you look at, I want you to look at the list and just let it marinate. Okay, just kind of really look at that list, because these or what you put on the list are not random. They're actually breadcrumbs God is leaving to guide you basically toward your calling. So I don't want you to ignore them, okay? So make that list after this episode and definitely marinate on them and pray on them. But you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. I've done this with my clients, and you'd be surprised at what shows up on that list. Okay, so let me move on. So the second thing, I want you to pray for clarity, as I just alluded to. And I know that this might sound obvious, but it's so important. You've got to invite God into this process. And identifying your calling isn't something you figure out on your own. It's something God reveals to you when you seek Him. So when you pray, you have to be specific and ask specific questions like, Lord, who are you calling me to serve? What gifts have you given me to share with the world? Or how can I glorify you in this next season? And here's the key. After you pray, meditate. Take some time to listen and be silent. Sometimes we spend so much time talking to God and we forget to pause and hear what He's saying. I remember when I was trying to figure out if coaching was really what God was calling me to do. And I kept praying and asking. And I'd pray and ask, Lord, show me what you want me to do. And I write down whatever came to mind during my prayer time. Then over time, a clear picture started to form, and I knew it was time to take the first step. So I want you to try journaling after your prayer time. Okay, that's what I did. And I was able to really listen and focus. And after your prayer, take your journal and write down any thoughts, ideas, or feelings that come up. Sometimes God speaks through those quiet moments of reflection. And then the third thing, and here's something I want you to keep in mind. So God often confirms your calling through people, situations, or opportunities. Okay. Now, maybe someone has told you, you are so good at this, you should do it professionally, right? Or maybe doors open or keep opening in a certain area of your life, even when you didn't expect it to. So has someone ever told you that you're a great listener, or you make an amazing coach? I used to hear that all the time. Or that's what else I used to hear. I used to hear you make an amazing coach. Oh, and you should do this for a living. We get that all the time. And listen, that's not just a compliment. That was actually confirmation. So do you keep finding yourself in situations where people just come up to you for advice or encouragement? That's not an accident. That's God showing you where He wants to use you. So if you keep getting those nudges or confirmations, I need you to take them seriously. God doesn't waste opportunities, and He doesn't waste your gifts. So if you're praying, if you're paying attention, you'll start to notice patterns, and those patterns will point you toward your calling. So let me just recap, because I said quite a bit. So let me just give you the 3 steps again, because again, I said quite a bit, and I don't want you to miss this at all. The first one is to reflect on your gifts and passions, and they're God's way of showing you where He's leading. Then secondly, pray for clarity and trust God that God will guide you when you seek Him with an open heart. And then lastly, pay attention to confirmation. So look for those moments where God is affirming your path. Sis, identifying your calling isn't about figuring it all out overnight. It's a process of seeking God, listening to His voice, and taking small steps of faith. And here's the best part: you don't have to have it all figured out to start. God will meet you right where you are and guide you every single step of the way. Let me ask you something. How long have you been stuck in waiting mode, telling yourself, I'll just do it tomorrow, or I'm just not ready yet? If that sounds like you, it is time to stop overthinking and start stepping out in faith. And that is why I created the Procrastination to Purpose checklist. This isn't just another to-do list. It's your no-nonsense guide to breaking free from spiritual procrastination and moving boldly into what God is calling you to do. Now, inside, you'll uncover the habits that keep you stuck, refocus your mindset, and learn simple faith-fueled steps to start moving forward with clarity and confidence. No more overwhelm, no more excuses, just practical God-centered actions that help you say goodbye to waiting and hello to walking in your purpose. Now, if you're ready to stop daydreaming about your calling and you're ready to start living it, then grab the Procrastination to Purpose checklist today by clicking the link in the description. Sis, it is time to move. So let's go ahead and do it together. All right, sis. So now that we've talked about identifying your calling, I want to talk about something just as important, and that's how to align your business with your faith. Because here's the deal. Starting a coaching ministry isn't just about having a business plan. It's about making sure your work reflects your walk with God. So when your business aligns with your faith, you're not just building a business. You're building a legacy that glorifies God and serves His people. And the best part is that you can do it without compromising your values or burning yourself out. So I want to break this down into 3 practical steps to make sure that your coaching ministry stays aligned with your faith, because you can get caught up in these streets, sis. I'm telling you, trust me. First things first, your business needs to be rooted in prayer. I'm not just talking about praying when things go wrong. I'm talking about inviting God into every single part of your business, from your big decisions to small details. When you're setting goals, pricing your services, or planning your next move, ask God for guidance. Prayer isn't just something we check off on our to-do list. It's actually the foundation of everything we do as a faith-driven business owner. Now, here's what I've learned is when you make prayer your strategy, you'll find clarity and peace even when things don't go as planned. God's wisdom is better than any business coach or strategy you'll ever find. So trust me on that. Next, let's talk about integrity for a second. So in a world that sometimes prioritizes profits over people, your coaching ministry has the chance to stand out by doing things God's way. So serving with integrity means putting your clients first, being honest about what you can offer, and always striving to add value to their lives. Maybe that looks like being transparent about your pricing or going the extra mile to help a client feel supported. Maybe it's as simple as following through on your promises, even when it's inconvenient. You see, these small actions reflect God's heart and show that your business is about more than just making money. It's about making an impact. So when you serve with integrity, people actually notice. And more importantly, God sees your faithfulness. So remember, your coaching ministry isn't just a business, it's a reflection of His love and care for others. And thirdly, let's talk about using your platform because we're living in a time where anyone who has a social media account can act like they're a guru or a preacher. So, whether you're posting on social media, speaking at events, or working with clients one on one, your coaching ministry is an opportunity to glorify God. Now, this doesn't mean you have to preach in every post. I don't. I don't preach in every post, okay? You don't have to push your faith on others. I definitely don't push my faith on others. And sometimes glorifying God is as simple as showing His love through your actions, your kindness, and the way that you serve. And that's what I definitely try to do is be kind always and to lead with kindness. So, what you can do is you could share a scripture that's been encouraging you lately. You can do that. Or you can pray over your client, even if they don't know it. I do that. I pray over my clients. They don't know it. I don't tell them I just do it. Or you can use your content to inspire and uplift and pointing people back to the hope and peace found in Christ. So you don't have to, be God all the time in terms of what you post on social media, but do it in your life. Do it in the life that you live. Be the word and not having to post it all the time. Your platform is powerful. And when you use it to reflect God's goodness, it becomes so much more than business. It becomes a ministry that changes lives. And that's why I call it a coaching ministry, because that's exactly what it is. So, sis, aligning your business with your faith doesn't have to be complicated. It's about keeping God at the center of everything that you do and serving others with integrity, and then using your platform to make Him known, using your life to make Him known. When you prioritize your faith, your business becomes more than just a hustle. Okay, I don't even like the word hustle. It becomes a holy assignment. And let me tell you, when you align your work with God's purpose, He'll do more through you than you could ever imagine. All right, sis, we covered a lot today, and we talked about what it means to be called, how to recognize alignment with your purpose, the steps to identify your calling, and how to keep your coaching ministry alive with your faith, aligned with your faith, excuse me. So that's a lot of ground. That's a lot. But here's the thing. I don't want you to just listen to this and feel inspired for a moment. I want you to take what you've heard today and start moving. Because here's the truth. You've got everything you need to step into your calling. I mean, you do. You really do. Not because you've got it all figured out. None of us do. But because God has already equipped you. He's walking with you every single step of the way. So, sis, I know the idea of launching a coaching ministry can feel overwhelming. I know. I've been there. I get it. I understand. And you might be thinking, what if I fail? That's what I said. Or what if I'm not ready? That's what I said. What if I'm not enough? That's what I said. But let me remind you, your calling isn't about being perfect. It's about being obedient. It's about trusting God enough to take that first step. Even when you're scared, do it scared. So I want to leave you with this verse from 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. That fear you're feeling is not from God, but He's giving you power, love, clarity. And that's all you need to start moving forward. You don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to have everything perfectly planned out. You just have to say, "Yes, Lord, I'm ready." Now, if you're ready, which I hope you are, if you're ready to take the first step, but you're not sure where to start. You're ready. You're like, "Girl, I'm ready, but I still don't know. I don't know where to start." All right, I got you. Okay. So I will have a link in the description for a checklist. It's called Procrastination to Purpose Checklist. Now, this is a free resource. It's designed to help you uncover what's really holding you back and how to take simple, faith fueled steps toward your calling. And sis, don't do this journey alone. Come join me in my free community. It's the Kingdom Business Coaching Circle. Again, it's a free Facebook community. It's where women like you are stepping out in faith and building coaching ministries that actually glorify God. So, in that community, you'll find encouragement, support, and practical tips to help you keep moving forward. Your next step is waiting, and I'm here to help you take it. So, sis, I want you to remember this: God didn't call you to this journey to just leave you hanging. If He's called you, He's equipped you. He's equipped you, He's walking with you, okay? And if He's walking with you, then nothing, and I mean nothing, can hold you back. So let's stop playing small. Let's stop waiting for perfect. Let's start trusting God, taking action, and walking boldly in the purpose He's placed on your life. You've got this because God's got you. And remember, I am rooting for you always. Sis, I hope today's episode gave you the encouragement you needed to step out in faith and start building the coaching ministry God's been nudging you to launch. Remember, you don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to trust God and take the first step. And don't forget, God's already equipped you with everything you need. Now, if you loved today's episode, be sure to follow or subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. It really helps to get the word out. And if you want to dive deeper and connect with other faith-filled women on the same journey, head over to our free Facebook community. I'll add the link to the description, and that's where we're cheering each other on as we launch with purpose. So until next time, keep praying, but more importantly, move in faith. I'm rooting for you, sis.